Right. Hi, everyone. I'm Mia. I'm a senior in elementary education, and I was on the trip to Hong Kong this past January, so this past winter break. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about my experiences on the trip. There were about 10 of us on the trip, but unfortunately, I was the only one who could come today. But we all kind of combined our pictures and put together this presentation. So, the trip was 2 weeks, and we visited many different schools. We visited primary schools, secondary schools, and also 2 universities. So we saw quite a variety of age groups and also types of schools. So we went to public schools, but also international schools like the French International School. So we saw a big variety, which was very interesting to compare those schools to US schools and also compare them to each other. So the goal of the trip was to compare the differences between American and Hong Kong school systems and bring this information back and incorporate it into our placements here. So just some general, these are just some pictures from the classrooms. This picture here was from a school that had a school-wide garden, which was really cool. This is just a general math lesson. It was interesting to see things like this, the stoplight system, which a lot of classrooms here have. So that just kind of illustrated that even though it's all the way across the world, there's a lot of things that are similar in classrooms, but also different. Here's some more pictures. So these are some older students. I believe this was high school, and this is some elementary students at the French International School. Some things we learned. Each school was unique and different in its own way, but there were definitely some common themes and similarities. There was something that we noticed was there was kind of a struggle with motivating students to really work hard and be motivated in school. This seemed to be a common issue, so schools were trying to address that. Schools were also trying to kind of combine a more Western style of teaching and the Eastern style of teaching and find a balance between those two. Another thing we noticed was that for the most part, all of the students we encountered were bilingual, so they were very articulate in English, but also very articulate in Cantonese or Mandarin, and some of them were even trilingual. So that was really cool to see. Another big emphasis in the schools was on global learning. So they were trying to educate students to be prepared to succeed in the world and learn about diverse cultures. Like I mentioned, they were bilingual, but they also took Spanish classes and French classes. They were just kind of expected to be fluent in all of these languages relatively quickly. We noticed that the students were very knowledgeable about what was going on in the world, even in the US. So they asked us lots of questions about, like, what do you think of Donald Trump? Or it was interesting, yeah. And it was interesting. They were under the impression that everyone in America owns guns and just has guns in their house. And we were like, no, that's not true. But it was interesting, some of the conceptions they had about Americans and also how knowledgeable they are about our current events as well. So a couple of challenges in the schools. There were, like I mentioned, there were schools that were bilingual, so either Chinese and English or French and English. Some classrooms were dual language. Some classes were taught in English. It just kind of depended on the school and the grade level. And it was really interesting to see, but we discussed how this is difficult to implement in the US just because there's a lot of emphasis on teaching English and less emphasis on creating bilingual classrooms. And another challenge that we noticed for the schools in Hong Kong was that a lot of the teachers had to translate instructional materials either from English to another language or from another language into English to use in their classroom. So that it's doable, but it's kind of time consuming. These are just some pictures. So we also did fun touristy things too. We weren't in the schools all the time. This is from the University of Macau, the picture on the left. So we got to visit their campus and talk with their students, their College of Education students, which was really cool. These are some this is the big Buddha, and this is a picture from Macau. Some more just general pictures. It's a really cool city. I had never been to anywhere in that part of the world, so it was really cool to see and explore. Oh, and we also, for part of the trip, we stayed with host families who had students at the French International School, and they were super nice. It was really cool. So that's what this picture is from. My host family lived in kind of a beach town called Stanley, so there was actually a beach there, which you don't really think about in Hong Kong, but it was beautiful and very cool. And of course, food. We ate lots of food, so there was a whole restaurant dedicated to Hello Kitty, so all the food is Hello Kitty themed, and yeah. So, yeah, that was a lot of fun to eat those different foods. That is just kind of a very brief general overview. If you are thinking about going on the trip and have any more specific questions, I put my email up here, so you can feel free to email me about the trip or just general study abroad things too. But yeah, thank you.
I wanted to announce too, Denise is here, and Professor Hood will be leading the trip to Hong Kong this year. Woo! We're following. Any questions?
Yeah.
So is that Hello Kitty really stamped by something on the corner for the side? Is that Hello Kitty supposed to be, stamped or something?
This
Or
one?
that's not
This is something else. Yes. No, but if you do go on the trip, you should definitely go to this restaurant. It's called Little Bao, and it was like the best food we had in Hong Kong. So highly recommended. Yeah.
It's nodding. We'll tell later.
I was wondering, when you go there and you probably see the lifestyle of young people, what do you find different or surprising?
It's a good question.
Feel free to please ignore him like he's not here.
No comments, right?
I don't know. That's a good question. Well, it was interesting for me because I'm obviously not from there. I'm blonde, so people literally came up to me and asked if they could take pictures with me because I stand out as a tourist. I don't know. It's just like I said with the school, some things are different, but some things are very similar. I mean, like the high school kids we met, a lot of them seemed like pretty normal high school kids, and I was mostly with elementary students, so, but I don't know. It's a good question. I'm not sure how to answer it. I have to think about that, but yeah.
And can you
Yes.
talk a little bit about, did you feel safe in Hong Kong?
Oh, yes. Actually, my host mom was telling me she left her wallet on the bus one time, and it had like $1,000 of cash in it. She was really worried. She was like, oh, well, I'm not going to get it back. Someone called her, like a few days later, they had found her purse, and they brought it to her house and just dropped it off. So people are very, very nice, and also, like, it seems totally safe. There's a subway system that's super easy to use, but I never felt like unsafe at night or anything like that. So very safe.